somebody, what do you do with them? And it a little bit has to do with their injury, but mostly just has to do with the type of tree that you're climbing at. So we break rescue down into 4 steps. There's 4 steps to every rescue that I perform, every rescue that I practice is 4 steps. Step number 1. Step number 1 of a rescue is assess the scene. Make sure that it's safe for you to even perform a rescue. Try to determine the method of injury. Try to figure out what is going on. So step 1 is assess the scene and make sure it's safe for you to actually do anything. Right? So once that's done, step 1 is assess the scene. Step 2, there'll be a test later, so pay attention. I've got 3 steps to give away. Okay, cool. Step 2 is make contact. By making contact, what I mean is I want to be able to call up to the person that's in the tree, try to get some sort of response from them. And at this point, I'm also going to call 911. So assess the scene. Step 2 is make contact. The 3rd step is actually going to be performing the rescue. Right, so steps 1 and 2 are done. I made contact. Craig, are you all right? What's going on? What happened? Are you bleeding? How do you feel? 911, make sure everything's good. They're on their way, they're rocking out. Step 3 is the rescue. Now, step 3, I'm going to go up and perform the rescue. I'm going to get into the tree. Yeah, rope just grabbed right on there. So, I get up in the tree. First thing I'm going to do is assess Craig's equipment. I want to make sure that everything Craig has is in fine working order. Right? I don't care about Craig as much as I care about the fact that I don't want him to fall and die as I'm working on it. So I'm going to make sure that his gear looks legitimate. His equipment looks legitimate. Make sure that his equipment is in working order, that his rope isn't frayed or cut, his carabiners are closed, his bridge is fine. Once I'm confident that his system's going to hold him, continue to hold him in the air, now I'm going to make my assessment of Craig. Right? I want to make sure that I get some kind of response. So it used to be ABCs, right? What did ABC stand for?
Airway, breathing, circulation.
Man, you're on it. Airway, I gotta give him the carabiner. That's pretty good. There you go. Airway, breathing, and I gotta get another carabiner. I got hundreds. Airway, breathing, and circulation. That's right. There's a trend now. In the last year or 2 years, there's a big trend. We're going to shift away from that. We're going to call it CRN. Circulatory, respiratory, neurological. So I want to check on circulatory system. So I'm looking for heartbeat and I'm looking for major bleeds. Okay? Those are the things that I'm looking for when I get up here. So I'm checking out to see to make sure that they have a heartbeat, they have a pulse, they're not bleeding profusely from anywhere, because I got to fix those 2 things right away. I have to fix them right away. They can bleed out in less than 2 minutes. If they don't have a heartbeat, I need to start chest compressions right away. I need to get that kicking, because everything else is going to go downhill. So if all of that's legit, if I come up to Craig and he's got a pulse and I can feel his neck, like choke him out, right? So check his neck, he's okay, or I check his wrist, I can get a pulse, right? And I don't see any major blood, bright red blood gushing out, I'm going to move to respiratory. I want to observe his breathing. Is he breathing, for starters? That's kind of important. And then what is the quality of that breathing? Is it shallow breaths? Is he hyperventilating? Is he breathing quickly in and out? I need to make an observation of that. I need to be able to determine what is the respiration, and is the respiration actually doing anything to help Craig? So does anyone know the average respiration for an adult when they're just sitting still?
70. 12 to 20. Oh, no, that's hard to get.
Per minute?
12 to 20 respirations per minute. Adult respiration.
So we want to make sure, I was told 40.
Try it.
I can't. I'm not an adult yet.
Try it.
So 12 to 20, we want to make sure that we're getting some normal, regular in and out breathing. A lot of times if someone's in good health, you're not going to be able to really see them breathing. You're not going to see this big dramatic rise and fall of their chest, especially if they're in a harness, right? So you want to be able to try to make some some connection, because these are things the EMTs want to know. So I'm going to check his respirations, make sure that he's breathing, try to pay attention to that breathing, make sure it doesn't stop, right? And then I'm going to move to neurological. Neurological is his ability to focus and have clarity. I want to check to make sure that there's no bleeding around the eyes, make sure that there's no, because that could be a sign of some sort of trauma upstairs. So I want to make sure that I check all of those things, make sure he can focus on me, his language is intact, all of those assessments, all right? So I'm going to do an assessment of Craig. Hey, how you doing? Where's it hurt? Nowhere? Good. Oh, Craig's all right. Good. What? So I'm going to assess him, and now once I do that assessment, we need to make some sort of connection. I need to get him down. So I've made my physical assessment and my visual assessment. I'm going to make a connection. 3 basic ways to bring somebody down, 3 positions. The first position, if you have someone that's about your size or close to your size, what you want to do is you want to bring them into your lap, tight as you can. Right? Get them all the way up to your system. Get your knees underneath their buttocks. Okay? Now you're going to take your lanyard at this point. This is important. Take your lanyard. You're going to pass your lanyard underneath, between their bridge. Okay? And you're going to pull that lanyard as tight as you physically can. And it's okay, because you're not choking it around their rib cage, and you're not choking it through their stomach. It's all the energy is being deflected by their climbing harness.
You go through it or just around it?
I went through it, so I passed. On this one, I went from underneath up and over. I always want to make sure that I've got that secure. The point would be is that if something went wrong with his system, it's going to catch on a life support point. So if you're just using big D-rings, pass through the D-rings, right? But whatever it is, you want to capture something that is life support. You don't want to capture this, right? This is going to be bad really, really quickly. So we do not want to capture just the body. Drop yourself down. So in a rescue situation, right now, okay, this is bad. Like, it sucks for me because it's cutting off circulation in my hip, but Craig is not having a good time right now. And all of his weight is being supported by my lower back and my climbing system, so I'm not having a lot of fun. And I can't do anything to fix this. Once this happens, we're pretty screwed, right? I can't do anything about this, and neither can Craig. So, and you know, depending on the size of the type of person, it can roll all the way up and actually come off of their shoulder or something, or hyperextend it. Yeah, exactly. Hyperextend their arms up over their head. So always, always, always go through life support, never around the body. You want to pull yourself up, brother?
What about why don't I?
Put your feet down and fall.
What is the basic percent?
So that's what we call a life support connection or a hard connection, depending on what it is. But it's definitely something that we want to see when we're doing rescue. That's good, bro. All right, so. Good. You need to retie that hitch, right? Retied it. Must have been used. It was definitely me. Ready?
Yeah.
All right, so bring yourself down. So I'm going to come down. I'm going to get my knees underneath the Craig. I'm going to go around him.
You going through the triangle up here?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So for those of you that can't see, that's all I did.
And you turn you around, but
You could. Uh-oh. So I'm
Your
going
head
right
rope is
through the
twisted
triangle
up.
of the bridge. So that way when I have him fully supported. So what I'm going to do is line him up right here, and I'm going to rest him. I'm going to lower him down so he's supported with my knees. I have his weight on my knees, and I have this pulled in as tight as it'll go. So now what I have is, if I can lean Craig back, my climbing system, you can see that, is supporting his spine. It's lining up his spine, and it gives him somewhere to relax into. Now I can grab his head, hold his head in place, and we're going to start lowering myself down. I'm just going to do a teeter-totter system. I'm going to bring myself down a little bit, and him down, and his hip is actually. I'm just going to, I couldn't have done that any better, right? That was awesome. Thank you, Greg. All right, so you can't them in and get them as tight as you can. That works pretty decent for someone that's about the same size as you or someone that's smaller than you. If it's someone that has, you know, is a lot taller, like Craig's a little bit of a struggle for me because he is so tall, I have a hard time controlling his neck and his head. Or if somebody's just big, it's hard to get around them if there's too much there. So it's definitely a situational kind of thing. Now the thing is with the last position, as we're coming down, this is really great in an open canopy because I have no way to steer us around. So if we're hanging in space, this position works pretty well because we're just coming straight down. But if you're in a conifer and you got a bunch of branches, this position sucks because I can't do anything to steer away from them. So what I'm going to do if I'm in a conifer, one of the things I'm going to do, make sure my rope's outside of my legs, make sure his rope's outside his legs. Now I'm going to come to the side of him, same exact thing. I'm going to make sure that his arm isn't underneath. I'm going to pull the system tight and get down under him just a little bit. I'm going to pull him as tight as I can. Now this is more of a cradle situation. In a cradle position, same thing though. He's up as tight as he can be against me. Now on this one, I'm going to give up a little bit of that ability to support his neck or back at all. Like I can't, unless I try to reach up over his shoulder, and unfortunately, he's just a little too big for all that. Right? Too tall. But I can go like this. It's just not going to be as comfortable for Craig. But he doesn't really need comfort because he's the jackhole that got hurt, right? So I could, yeah. So right now in this position, I can kind of grab him and kind of try to support him, and then we're both going to come down nice and slow. Right? And in this position, as we're moving, if I have to, I do have control